So, welcome everyone. I'm Alexander Mihalcea, and today we have one of the industry leaders, Tyrone Bennett, CEO of Action Change. Welcome, Tyrone. How are you doing today?
I'm good, thank you.
Great. And I'm awesome because I'm excited to have you on the podcast today, and I'm sure you're going to be of great value for the audience. Now, before we dive in, could you give us a quick overview of what Action does?
Absolutely, yes. So, Action Change, we're a UK registered charity, and we are working to help projects run by communities around the world tackle the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. So, it can be anything from like poverty up to education, women's empowerment, to conservation-based programs as well. So, like protection of wildlife and marine conservation programs as well. So, literally everything in a nutshell, we do it.
Okay, that's fascinating. And basically, what inspired you to create Action Change? Was there a specific moment or experience that sparked this journey?
So Action Change has been going for it was 20 years next month actually. We just turned 20. I actually joined a little bit after it first started. I volunteered in India and then over in Nicaragua in Latin America. I was actually a volunteer. I went to go into education, teaching initially. So I took a couple of months out to volunteer and just absolutely loved it. Heading back to UK, I then decided I wanted to get involved and moved over to Action Change. Yeah, and I've been probably about 15, 16 years now with Action Change.
Okay, interesting one. And for example, could you share the story of Action Change and what inspired its focus on empowering communities?
Sure. So it initially started, it was from alumni, so people like myself that had volunteered overseas. You know, we go out and you actually meet the people and you want to give back and you want to help them. So we were initially set up more of a fundraising charity. And in the last 5 years, we see that people don't want a handout, they actually just want to like help step up, you know, in their life. They're in townships, they're in poverty, but they just need the help to be able to get the equipment and the resources they need to make a difference. So we've transitioned over now to being more of like a mentor and a supportive nature rather than just throwing money at the problem. And we work on projects now on the ground, and we're building people in the communities. We're building a real strong alliance with them, making sure they're trained and educated so they can go and tackle the issue themselves and also in a sustainable way. So we will be the program could be like 2 years, it could be 5 years, whatever it takes to get them sustainable, locally funded, locally sourced, you know, and they can carry on fighting these global issues within their communities and others.
Okay, see. And basically, what does it mean to be a Kickstart charity for other charities and projects?
We get to meet some very interesting people. It's nice for you being going on the journey with people. So these people we meet, they have that passion, they have the drive, they just don't maybe have the skills or the resources to kick off a program. So working with us, we're actually there. I actually spend most of my time in the field with the programs. You know, we start the journey with them, and we can help them. Any of the issues they have, we've seen before. We've been here, we've been doing this for a while. So tackle and overcome any big hurdles at the
Mhm.
start of the journey. And that's what we're good at, you know. So it's quite important for us. We do have a long-term plan where we'd love to have one corporate partner for every program we have. You know, because if you think of about a business, you've got a marketing department, you've got the finance
Yeah.
department, so that someone from each of those departments could mentor and help these guys in the community set up the programs. That's what we'd love to see, you know. But we've got about 93 programs, so we need quite a lot of corporate partnerships to get there. But
Yeah,
that's our
right.
long goal for sure as a charity, anyway.
Yeah, makes sense. But for example, how does Action Change aligns its programs with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals?
So the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals actually started off with the Millennium Goals, and then it transitions to the SDGs, as it's called for short. There's 17 goals, and obviously if you don't have, you're not sure what they are, you can go and have a look on the UNSDGs pages. There's everything from making sure that there's no poverty, no hunger, life on land, in the ocean. You know, so it's got everything in it. And what we do is we make sure that we educate and train and make aware of the people in the community what these goals are, and then we look at what program they want to start. How do we set it up so we're tackling those key issues? Because if we all tackle the same issues that are in these goals, then we're building a world where everyone's focusing on the same issues and making sure that we're eradicating stuff the right way, rather than just going off and doing different stuff. So it's awareness, first off, and then obviously and the education. But then we make sure we align all our impact, so we're monitoring our progress in line
Yeah,
with the goals. And on the other side as well, we work with schools. So I've got a primary school here in South Africa, in a township. Now they're obviously feeding the children, poverty, education, key areas. But we've also got a turtle rescue program also in Cape Town in South Africa, and we can bring the two together. So the guys from the turtle program can go into a school and
yeah.
talk to the children about conservation stuff as well. So we also build a network that our partners, our projects connect and can help each other. But we make sure every program we have has a minimum of 5 goals now that they're tackling. They usually start with a minimum of two, and a lot of them a lot more as well.
Okay, but I have a curiosity by then. So, how does Action Change partner with local communities to build sustainable projects?
So we get lots of requests. I think there's lots out there. Is where we've got the resources. So there's quite a detailed, a little bit of a complex setup process we take. First off, we need to look at, do we have the resources in that area, and the expertise in that. When I say that area, in that country or in that community. We do. We will then look at what we can do, and obviously we have to look at, is the project something that we're going to be able to get help funding for, attract, and then we can do it. We don't want to go and promise help, but we can't do it. So we have to weigh up both sides of it, like the marketing side of a project as well as the resources. And then we'll sit down, we have a meeting with them, and the project is 50% owned by Action Change and the programs at the start, purely because we can make sure that obviously money's going where it needs to go, and we can have transparency for our supporters. But then once we get to the point where the project is self-sustainable, we hand that back. There's no cost to the community. It's their project, and off they go once they're sustainable. But yes, that's how we align.
Okay, I see, I see. And because you mentioned this, what strategies do you use to ensure that project becomes self-sufficient and self-funded?
They can be very different because the projects have all different outlines. So it can be, I mean, for example, people go, how can you make a primary school sustainable? I'll give you an example, one in Kenya. In Mombasa, what we do is the donors have actually bought some motorbikes and some houses, and the rent from the motorbikes and houses fund the staff salaries. We then built a veggie garden. So the feeding program, which is one of our biggest expenses, around about 1,000, $2,000 a month to feed 300 children. Sounds a lot, but it's actually quite cheap. It's less than like 50 cents a head. The amount we're doing for them. But we have to make that sustainable, and that's through having a huge veggie garden so they can grow their own crops and stuff. Having chicken farms at the school, so they've got sustainable food source, and then have this renting where they're renting stuff out to the community, like the bikes and the homes, which covers the salaries and the running costs of the school. That way, the school's fully funded. Others might be that, for example, a women's empowerment program, then making stuff, the stuff they make, they can sell, and then sell that locally, and that will cover the cost of the program as well. So there's lots of different initiatives. And we have a whole team of experts. We sit down and we brainstorm out early at one of the early few first sessions with the team. We all sit down and go, right, what is our sustainable route for this? Others might be just local funded government opportunities and stuff as well. So it can be very,
Yeah.
very different. But that's something we work out on probably the first few days of starting the program.
Okay. And also, could you provide examples of successful projects that have been taken over by the community?
Sure. I think one of my favourite ones. There's two guys. They're always on social media chat about their work now, but their name's Blacks in Space. They're actually from a township in Philippines, which is just outside Cape Town in South Africa. The two of them, uh, they they joined forces in a local youth group in a community which is struggling. There's a lot. It's quite a dangerous township. Lots of those struggling. Not a lot of opportunities. Blacks was a chef. And Space was one of the leaders, and they wanted to set up their own catering program. So they started themselves around 200 rand, which to you and I is probably about $10, $10, $12. They went to the shops, bought some ingredients, got up at midnight and made loads of muffins. And at 5 o'clock, when sunrise, they headed down to the local train station and sold muffins to commuters. Set up their first business,
Yeah.
and they've made money. They then, in the community, reached out to one of my team, who put them in front of me, and they came and sat down with us. Said, "Look, we have a dream. We want to have a food stall. We want to get like a food truck." I could see their passion and their drive, and they came with a business plan. They were super excited. So this was the first time I was like, "Okay, we will help you." We gave a grant to cover the cost of the food truck, and they said, "We just want a grant because we will pay you back in about 12 months." They paid us back within 3 months. It was that successful, and
Yeah.
there was, oh, this is really good. And then we really worked with them. So we would mentor them and help them. They had about 5 trucks in the end. And then they said, "Oh, our next dream, and our biggest dream was to have a restaurant." And so it was before COVID. They came to us and said, "We've got a container in the township. We want to open our restaurant." So we helped them. We gave them another loan, which we actually then converted into a grant because of COVID, because they got shut down. But we supported them through lockdown, and when they came back out, they've now got, I think, 17, 18 staff. Most of them are men that have just come out of prison, that have been reformed, working there, all from the community, and it's a community hub. You go there, the music playing, people love this little place. It's a safe space, and it's great to see how they've changed that community, just by a little bit of help from one of our programs.
Okay. And now walk us through how Action Change addresses these challenges. What makes your approach unique?
I think there's not many people doing what we do. A lot of charities are either it's their program on the ground and it's one focus. There's not many charities that go, right, we're going to focus on everything, because we see what we do. If we're helping an elephant or we're helping a
Yeah.
child, the approach is the same. We need a business model. We need to make sure that it's sustainable, and what we're doing, the strategies for the charities are the same. So we decided we will take on all 17 girls. By doing that, we're also building a bigger network of people working across different areas. We think that's very unique. We've actually done a little bit of research looking around, and it's very hard to find someone doing what we're doing. It seems to be quite new, and I think charities in the business world have always been very, very separate. Now people are younger, more aware. They will, rather than go for cheapness, they'll actually go for a product that's more sustainable, giving back, and more community focused. So businesses are now looking for partnerships with charities, and I think this is a big, big thing. And that's why Action Change is different to others, is because our long term goal is to make sure we find corporates and the charities and connect them so they are the best, so they can grow together, not just throwing money at the problem. And I think that's something that we do very well, because we've had a lot of history and experience in the area, obviously working on the ground in the communities as well, all around the world.
Okay. And for example, could you describe the range of project of Action Change supports from anti-poaching to education?
Yeah, so we work across Latin America. So the locations in Latin America, we've got Brazil, Mexico, Costa Rica, Peru. Then over in Africa, it's Ghana, Zimbabwe, South Africa, Kenya. I try not to forget any of them. And then also in Asia, we're in Laos, India, Sri Lanka, and Nepal. Now, the programs in each country, we always split them up to be environmental conservation or community based. So it's going to be one of the two areas that they will work in. And then let's say it's the programs we work on will all be aligned with the local team. So it's what's their issues. So in Sri Lanka, the biggest issue for them in the wild is elephants keep walking into the
Yeah.
communities, and then the people try and poison the elephants or have issues, which then become a problem. We've been working on human elephant conflict. There's a project called Project Orange, where if you plant citrus trees, you don't like citrus trees, they will stay away. So putting that around and fencing and stuff as well. Education to going into other communities that are like in more city based, they don't have access to healthcare, sanitary towels, where women's empowerment, education. So it does vary on the location, really, but
Mhm.
we try to do both conservation or community based in every location we work in.
Okay. But for example, because you mentioned this, what are the biggest challenges you face in implementing projects across Africa, Asia, and Latin America?
So the biggest challenge I find is you don't want to get too tied up, as we say, in red tape. It's one of those big things you say about corporates and stuff. We have a big impact on what we do, but we're on the ground. And like I said, this is maybe the challenge we are very good at not getting involved with. So a lot of challenges you can end up sitting in the boardroom, sitting, approaching and trying to get government to change ways, but don't get anything done. And that's
Yeah,
and the red tape and stuff is a big challenge for projects. So what we really, really focus on is we focus on let's not worry about the government and stuff. Let's not get into that red tape stuff. Let's get stuff done. Let's be on the ground and get stuff done. That's why we're different. Let's leave the bigger charities that have the resources and the manpower to sit on legislational boards and push government. All the work we do, obviously, we will collect that information and pass it up to them. But let's keep it split. I think there's a
yeah.
very difference between if you sit on a board and you're trying to get legislation changed, which is a great thing to do, but the amount of money and the resources you need for that, then you don't get stuff done on the ground. So we are needed for the immediate now. And we make sure that challenge we get over by just saying we don't do that. We'll pass it on to a bigger charity.
Okay, I see. And how do you measure the impact of your programs on the communities you serve?
So all of our programs, I was going to say we're aligned to the SDG, so we use them as our measuring tool.
Yeah,
We do it every quarter. So every quarter we go through and monitor that we are progressing and going forward. Every project has its own goals and measures, and the community leads and my team sit down once every 3 months and they do a full report and auditing of all the numbers which come through to us so we can check and we can share. And then every year we sit down and we call it a PPP form, which is an internal form, but it's a project planning preparation form. And what that lets us do is say, right, where are we now and where we get to? And we keep that.
yeah,
So we've got that snapshot, say on the 1st of January, and the following year we go, did we achieve that? And we can see, and then we'll do another form for the next year to make sure we are moving forward and that we get to that final goal of that sustainability. Where did we stay on day one we want to get to? Are we there? And also we need to change it through the year. We will do that as well. So there's quite a lot of monitoring. But
yeah.
as I say, we don't want to put too many systems in place because then we'll end up getting stuck in the red tape.
Okay, I see. I see now. And now, looking at the broader industry, how do you see action change evolving in the next 10, 20 years?
Well, as I said, we're already in that stage now. We are changing slightly from that fundraising to being more involved in our programs. But I think with the way the world's changing, it's very, very important for corporates and businesses to join us and get involved. And I think what we would like to see in the next 10 years is that we are a charity where we're the middle person, making sure it all works and giving people the resources to speed things up and get stuff done, but you'll have the business working directly with the program and working in a close partnership and making huge change. And we'll sit back more of them just sorting out, making sure everything's shared together, and networking and making sure connections are done, because I think that's quite key. But at the moment, as I said, we don't have that, so we do it all, which is
Yeah,
fun but challenging.
yeah, interesting. And what are the key trends that you are seeing right now shaping the future of community development?
So it was a big thing. Obviously, COVID was one we saw. It was quite an interesting time. Everyone talks about this stuff, and I'm probably I was a bit bored of hearing that word now. But I mean, we managed to keep all of our programs in that time. But it was interesting before that. We was quite ahead, of moving forward to these goals, but we've taken a huge back step because a lot of people are out of work, and all around the world, everyone's not got as much money as they used to have. More and more people are coming to charities. The demand on charities over the last 18 months has been incredibly insane. We are getting so many requests, people that need help, but there's less money because there's less people
Yeah,
supporting.
yeah,
So it is a problem, and it is, food banks all around the world are saying like they get people queuing up, they're struggling. We have a couple of homeless programs that we work with, struggling massively. It is crazy how it's changed. We've gone back a little bit over the last few years, but we are still trying to push forwards. And I think all charities now are having to look at new strategies and new ways to survive and be here over the next few years because it's definitely a tough time.
okay, yeah, yeah, yeah. You have right. And in your opinion, what advice would you give to others looking to empower communities and tackle the global issues?
First off, I think you need to decide what do you want to do. Are you a policy changer? You want to put your money into working with governments and that kind, and that's look for a charity that's got a bigger name and can do that. Or do you want to help people on the ground? Actually get your hands
Hmm.
dirty, get out there. Then you look for charities that do it. I think it's very, very key. Don't go and do. If everyone goes and does their own thing by themselves, that is amazing work. But there's so many people doing everything. We need to be joined up and do it together. So partnerships are absolutely essential for moving forward, and just having that conversation. Anyone that drops me a message, hey, I'm interested, let's have a meeting. I'm always keen to jump on a call to talk to people because it's awareness and building that network. I think if we all join together, we can make a much bigger impact. Research, join, get forces, networking, and just um, join a project that means something to you. Like when I'm out on the community and seeing what I'm doing, inspiration. It means more to you. You'll do more, and you'll get further.
Yeah, great advice though.
Uh,
And as you wrap up, what's next for Action Change? Any exciting developments on the horizon?
so next month, so in September, we will be turning 20. So we're going to kick off our 20-year celebrations. So we'll be having a new look branding of 20 years of action and change. Actually got a, CSR Connect conference webinar, online webinar, free to attend. I believe it's the 17th of September is online. People are welcome to join that, and that's when we're going to start kicking off our proper connections. And then in January, I'm going to be heading out to Guatemala. So where our first ever program we ever started Action Change was in Guatemala 20 years ago. So I'm going to be heading out there. I'm going to be meeting our team that we started with. They're still out there, and I've been in contact with them. And we're also going to be looking to launch a new program, which is very exciting because it's been 20 years. So it'd be nice to get back and do that full circle. So that's the next two biggest things on our list.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Uh,
And for listeners who want to learn more or potentially work with Action Change, what's the best way to get in touch?
The best way is I would say email myself or any of my team. You can use hello@actionchange.org as an email, or just go on their website and fill out the form, and we will get back to you for sure. Yeah, I mean, just we're here. We're quite easy to get hold of, so just drop us a message.
Sure, sure. Thank you very much, and thank you for sharing the insights about you, about the whole story, and about the everything. And thank you for this amazing podcast session.
Okay, thank you, Alexander. Thank you.
Great. See you in the next episode.
All right.